What's going on, everybody? KingofDragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the Mafex Batman, the Dark Knight Returns, the Armored Batman. And so here we have Armored Batman pose and out of the packaging. Before we take a look at the figure, let's actually run through his accessories really fast. Batman does come with 3 different head sculpts. We do get an armored neutral head. We get an armored grimacing head. Then we get an unmasked grimacing head. He also comes with several sets of hands. We get a pair of fists, a pair of relaxed hands, a pair of style pose hands, a pair of trigger finger hands, a hand for holding his grenade, and then we do get a right hand for spraying acid, and then he does come with his grenade. Unfortunately, this Batman does not come with a sonic disruptor, which I am really upset about, but there are ways to go about that. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually take a closer look at Armored Batman. And so here we have a closer look at Armored Batman, and I'm just gonna say this, guys, this is an almost perfect figure. There is very little that I do not like about this figure, and it is just done very, very well. Let's actually talk about his head for starters. This is a very, very comic book accurate head for Armored Batman, and it looks fantastic. It even has that little bevel right here where his nose would be. The eyes are whited out perfectly, and then that frown that he has on him looks really, really good. I love all the heads that come with him. The grimacing unmasked head is very nice, as well as the grimacing masked head. Now, one thing I didn't notice, and this is just experimenting, if you have the other Dark Knight Return figures, the unmasked Bruce Wayne heads do fit on this figure, so if you want a neutral unmasked Bruce Wayne, it will work, and I really love that. So the helmet is done very well, and one small detail that they did capture is that his chin is actually exposed when you lift his head up all the way, and that's really cool. I do like that, although you really only see that much of his chin. That's kind of how it would work in real life. Really, really loving it. It looks very accurate, very smooth, which is one thing I really love seeing. Now, the one issue that I have with this figure, and this is such a very minor issue, but it is something to point out, is how they designed his cape. I'm not a fan of how it scrunches up back here, because when you have him like this, you can see it is starting to pop up. I've just been folding the back down like that, and it rests better than what it did out of packaging. I know there's a way to fix it, but I feel like the cape on mine was attached backwards, or maybe even upside down, because I don't think this frill is supposed to be exposed. I think that it should be more like that on the inside. But yeah, it's still a very minor issue, and I really can't complain too much about it. So, having a look at the Armored Batman, a very, very fantastic detail. This is probably the best rendition of Armored Batman from the Dark Knight Returns that we've ever gotten in figure form, and it just looks spectacular. You can see his armor suit right here is done very well, especially right here down the middle. The rivets look really good, as well as the collar piece right here. Very accurate to the source material. It's almost like they just reached out and grabbed this Batman out of the graphic novel. You can see he does have the armor plating right here on his shoulders, going down to his bicep, which it just wraps around very nicely, as you guys can see there. Then we do have his big gauntlets, which wrap around his arms nicely. You can see it's done in this really nice slate and dark blue. And then we have his fins right here done in a darker plastic, which is accurate to the source material. Going on to his really big gloves, you can see they're armored, padded, and they are just ready to take on Superman. And let me just bring out one set of hands just so you can see how much detailing is on there. Each knuckle is individually padded and armored up, so that is a very nice detail that Mafex was able to do here. Just look at the inside of the gloves too. That is superb detailing here. Very nice, and I feel like he's missing like 1 or 2 accessories. It would have been nice if he had the electrical pouch that he has right here in the graphic novel that he attaches to the street light, and then of course the sonic disruptor would have been really nice, but WB and their no guns policy is really confusing right now. But yeah, I really like the detailing here on his armor. That is actually accurate to the comic book. Looking at the back, you can see it is just a smooth piece, which I'm perfectly okay with. Would have been nice if he had a removable chest piece where you could take off this part and then put on the battle damage part, but it's still a solid figure right here. You can see his undersuit there, his utility belt done in a very bright yellow. Codpiece is protecting his region really nicely, and then there's no armor on his backside. You can see on the thigh guards we have that same nice slate blue that most of the armor is done in, which I think that's perfect. The shade is really nice. I love the contrast between the gray, the slate, and then this purplish blue for his armored suit. Again, we go on to his greaves right here, which again have the fins, which at first you wouldn't think that that's accurate, but yes, he did have the fins on his legs as well. And all this armor detailing was also in the graphic novel, as well as this stripe right here. Again, very nice attention to detail here on Armored Batman, all the way down to his spiked boots, and these are very menacing. You do not want to get curb stomped by this Batman. He is armored to the teeth, and then these boots, really like the coloration on them. Everything on this figure is done perfectly. I really can't expect much more out of Dark Knight Returns Armored Batman. This is superb and flawless in just about every aspect. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get Batman compared to other figures you may have in your collection. Here we have Batman posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have Batman posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. Here we have Armored Batman posed next to a Lightning Collection White Ranger and a Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian. Here we have the Armored Batman posed next to the Mafex Dark Knight Returns Black Suit Batman, Dark Knight Triumphant, and Batman and Robin from Mafex. And finally, here we do have Armored Batman posed next to the Mattel Dark Knight Returns Armored Batman and the Mafex Batman vs. Superman Armored Batman. So with the comparisons out of the way, let's actually have a look at Batman's articulation. Now, Batman here does have a double ball joint here in the head, which does let him look up to about that far, and he can look down about that far. We do get some slight pivot on that, as well as left and right rotation. Then we have a secondary ball joint here at the base of the neck, which does let him look up even further. He can look down even further, but because he does have that crooked ball peg, that's about as far as you can get him to look unless you rotate that. Having a look at his shoulders, he does have a butterfly joint which does pull out to about right there, which works pretty good. It is on a ball socket, so that does move around in the joint. It goes out to about that far before the armor does hinder it. And even though this is on a hinge, you don't get too much movement out of it, because once you get to about right there, the armor starts butting up against itself. Then we do have a really nice rotation going around the shoulder. He does have a bicep swivel nicely hidden underneath this piece of armor. Double bend at the elbow, but because of how bulky his armor is, we really only get about 90 degrees, if that, might be a little less than 90, which is a little bit unfortunate, but because of how bulky it is, it's really easy to understand why you don't get the full 90. He does have a ball hinge here at the wrist, which does go in and out, up and down, and then rotates on that pin. He has a double ball joint here at the torso, which does let him bend about that far back. Crunches about that far. It's not the best, but it works, and it is a little bit stiff, so do be careful when moving it around, but it can rotate left and right, side to side pivot. I just gotta loosen it up a little bit. Rotation here at the waist, as well as another ball joint here, and you can hear that squeaking. I'm gonna have to hit that up with some lubricant just to loosen it, but it does function nicely. Legs are on a ball hinge, so they do drop down like that, go out to the side, go forward really nicely, going back, doesn't really go too far back, and does swivel on that thigh joint, or up here in the hip. We do have a double hinge here at the knee, which, as you can see, depending on how you articulate it, you can have a really ugly gap, or if you articulate both joints together, you get a more clean, solid joint, so that is something to be aware of. he does have rotation here at the ankle, as well as a hinge which goes forward and back. Forward facing pin for rocker ankle, and then we can rotate that to give him a true rocker ankle. And then finally we do have a toe hinge. So overall, Armored Batman here has some pretty good articulation. Oh, before I forget, he does have a wireframe in his cape, so you can pose that as you would like. So really do like that. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get Armored Batman posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And finally, here we do have the Mafex Dark Knight Returns Armored Batman pose for my final thoughts. And overall, this is a superb figure. There is very little that I can find wrong with this figure. Aside from the issues with the cape and a couple missing accessories such as the lightning attachment that he has when he fights Superman and the Sonic Disruptor, I think this is a perfect figure. Now, I don't really say that too often, and it might just be my bias toward The Dark Knight Returns being one of my favorite graphic novels, but this is a phenomenal figure. Everything about it looks like he just jumped out of the comic books. Now, if you're like me and you have just about every version of the Armored Batman, you can actually use the Mattel Dark Knight Returns Armored Batman Sonic Disruptor with this figure, and it fits in his hand perfectly. It's almost like they molded his hand just to have the Mattel Sonic Disruptor in his hand, and I absolutely love that. Another thing I really love about this Batman figure is that you can switch the unmasked Bruce Wayne heads with other unmasked Bruce Wayne heads from the past. So if you want a grimacing Bruce Wayne, you can have it. If you want a stern neutral Bruce Wayne, you can also use that, which I am very happy about. The interchangeability of this figure does make him worth the pickup. Now, if you haven't already done so and haven't been collecting this line, I really do recommend you pick up the Mafex Dark Knight Returns series. That includes all the Batman figures we've had a look at, the Joker, and the Batman and Robin 2-pack. This is such a very nice figure. I can't say enough good things about it. I absolutely 100% recommend the Mafex Armored Batman. If you're a fan of Batman, Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, just want a really awesome Armored Batman in your collection, this is the best Armored Batman that we have gotten from any company. That includes Mezco, Mafex, well, this is the Mafex, Mattel, McFarlane. This hands down the best Armored Batman. So if you're a fan of this design for Batman, you're gonna want to have them in your collection. Now, I did pick up my Armored Batman from Hobby Link Japan, where he did run me about $75. Now, if you are getting him domestically, you're looking to pay around $90 to $100 for this figure. Thankfully, getting him shipped only cost me about $20, which is kind of expensive right now. The international shipping exchange is kind of pricey at the moment, but getting him shipped for about $25, I only paid about $85, $90 for him, and that's including shipping. If you were to get him domestically, you would have to pay taxes on top of shipping, so there is that. Keep that in mind. Like I said, I picked him up on Hobby Link Japan, which at the time of making this video, he is on back order and will be in stock in a couple of days, so definitely pick him up from there if you're familiar with it. If not, you can wait till he comes from other more domestic shippers like Big Bad Toy Store or Entertainment Earth, because this is a superb figure, and if you want him in your collection, really 100% hands down must have this Batman figure. With that being said, guys, I'm KingofDragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and check out all my other action figure reviews, as well as all my other Mafex and other Dark Knight Return videos. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it's in my collection, I'll gladly have a look at it. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, and as always, ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.